Hello, welcome to Building Department 101. I'm your host, Bill Forty, Inspector of Buildings for the City of Waltham, and welcome to the show. We are a show designed to give you general information about what's going on in your city, what certain regulations are, and all things related to the building department. So we're going to get right into it. So I'm sure if you are a resident in the city and you've obviously have observed some of the large amount of construction going on in and around the center of the city and in and around the commercial district up near Route 128. I'm sure that you'd like to have some information about the sheer volume of what's going on. Waltham, just as a general description, Waltham is in probably one of the best locations in the state. You're so far out of Boston that you're not affected by the congestion and some of the higher rates for rent and so forth if you're a commercial business. But you have all the convenience of being right in the intersections of Route 90, Route 128. Route 93 is accessible, in a very short period of time. It's a strategically ideal location for businesses, and as a result of the combination of the location of the city of Waltham and the conditions in which a building permit can be obtained, Waltham is relatively not as complex as some of the cities in and around the Boston area, especially in Boston. It's not as complex to get a building permit to be able to do the things you want to do. It makes Waltham a great location for commercial businesses to strive. So here we are. We have had a great number of big projects over the past 2 years. I'll be going over some of those things. We'll be going over multi-residential projects in and around the city. We've added close to 1,000 living units over the past 2 years. I've been the inspector of buildings since February of 2015, and there has been, in that period of time, has been a great number of rental units added to the city, which has really given the city a new, vibrant kind of community. And so I know that everybody is interested in that, and we're going to be discussing some of the retail projects up and around 1265 Main Street, which is the Market Basket location. There are large commercial projects, large businesses, major world corporations that are centered right here in Waltham, and the redevelopment of some of the properties that are existing in and around the city. So those will be our topics for discussion. We're going to start right now with Cooper Street. That is the project that's going on between Elm Street and excuse me, Pine Street, the area where Boston Bark used to be. That is a residential development containing 264 units. The project is massive. It's a completely brand new facility where all the parking is located within the center of the area. There are amenities that are included in there. What's interesting about this from a construction standpoint is that it's unusual to see a wood frame structure to be 5 stories. There are areas in the building that are five stories. Normally what you see in this type of construction is you see a concrete deck, which is basically a fireproof fire barrier between the floors above. So normally when there's a 5-story structure, you'll see that the first, very similar to 1 Moody Street project called the Merck, which I'll get to in a minute. That has a concrete steel deck on the first floor dividing the rest of the floors above, and there's 4 wood stories above. In this particular case, the 5 wood stories you would not be able to do under the International Building Code. However, by making the exterior walls with a 2-hour fire resistance rating or non-combustible, which is basically, even though it's made of wood, it's wood fibers that do not burn. They're fire protected. I think they have a 2-hour fire protection value. You're putting the construction into what's called a Type 3 building, whereas the exterior walls are non-combustible and the interior walls are of any material. Of course, they're all protected by fire suppression systems, fire sprinkler systems, and so forth. But the type of construction and the design, by having a fire retardant exterior wood wall, it allows them to go up another story. So that's one of the fascinating things about a wood structure that size, because normally you don't see them, and so that's what makes that project unique. Currently they have 2 wings out of the 4 wings framed of the building, and they are right now, when we showed the original film, was when the project was just getting started. Of course, now it's February that we're filming this show. You're going to find that the project is a lot further on than what than what our little clips show, but it's well underway, and the project is going very good, and it employs over 100 construction workers on any given day. So it's got quite a value to the city. The next project, Merck, which is when I took some of the footage from there, it was 75% constructed. The building on the very corner of Main and Moody had just been demolished. That building has since been replaced. The project is more like 90% completed. It is probably 75% occupied. There are 3 out of the 4 buildings are basically occupied, or at least they've been given certificates of occupancy. I know that the 2 buildings that were issued certificates of occupancy prior to November of last year are fully occupied. So the only thing that you'll see over there is that the bottom retail floors are not filled yet. There's a bank over there and a couple of other small things. I think there's actually 2 banks, but the retail space has not been filled yet. This project also is approximately 235 units. Parking garage is located under the structure that is adjacent to Charles Street. So very similar project to what's going on over at Cooper Street. Both of these projects require what's called a special permit from the City Council. Many of you residents may have recalled either seeing a posted notice in the paper or perhaps on the city website about public hearings on these types of projects. A special permit is required when a project doesn't meet the criteria for what the city allows. And usually what's called an intensity of use FAR approval is something that a property owner is allowed to have a certain size building on a certain size lot. That's called floor area ratio. When that floor area ratio exceeds the limits that are allowed by zoning, the City Council needs to grant a special permit in order for the applicant to build to the size and shape that they want. In addition to that, the Zoning Board of Appeals will hear certain petitions on the setback of the property, or say the number of stories. So there are dimensional requirements for a project like that, but also too is when they exceed the FAR allowed by zoning as of right, then they need to go to the City Council. And both of these projects in this case require that there is a special permit issued for that, given usually the number of stories and the amount of volume. So the floor area ratio is what the volume of the building size is compared to the lot, and both of these projects exceeded it. So these are both by special permit. So just something to keep in mind. You can always come to the building department to view any record of any project that's going on in and around the city at any time. We are the keeper of public records. We're required to keep building plans, site plans, and all other pertinent related information for the life of the building. So our plan in the future is to try to scan all this information and put it online so that the public will be able to see it from their computer. We're on our way. We just organized a lot of our building plans, and we're on our way to securing funding for the project of being able to scan our entire public record of plans to a server so that they're accessible to the public at no charge. Retail projects. We have a number of retail projects going on. The biggest base of that being up at the Market Basket property. Some of you might know as the old Polaroid site. There's a retail phase of that particular project, along with an office laboratory phase, which is off to the right side of the plaza that exists there now. There have been quite a few restaurants added in. over there. There's a couple of retail stores. It's a really beautiful project when you walk by, you drive by and you see it. It's a huge improvement to the city, and it really has helped the area be way more vibrant and more attractive. Especially driving by on Route 128, you see it, you want to get off and take a look at it. It's phenomenal. But there've been quite a few restaurants that have been added. The entire project includes a cut-through road that goes up to the top of 4th Ave, I believe, and it's basically an access road right now that is open during the day during regular business hours. There's a gate there, but it does close after a certain time at night. Part of that project was being able to have a cut-through that goes all the way up to Totten Pond Road. So that road has been put in, those gates are up, and without a security card you wouldn't be able to get through after hours. But there is a whole, what I'll try to do is I'll try to find out what the link is, but there's a whole big project with on-ramps and traffic circulation that is part of Phase 2 of that project. Phase 1 is complete, being the retail and some of the other things. Clark Shoe World Headquarters is part of that project. But the area has been revitalized, and it's a very nice place for people to go and shop. And there are several different retail stores in there that are fun to visit, and I can see that that's a great project for the city that people have come to enjoy, and it's one of the premier places to be in Waltham. 200 Smith Street. Over 400,000 square feet of existing warehouse. This used to be the postal warehouse for this area. I believe that was built in the 70s. The building is massive. It's over 400,000 square feet. A developer came in a couple of years ago and come up with this idea to convert the building into prime office laboratory research space, and was able to do that without being required to have a special permit. The floor area ratio for the building was reduced in some areas by taking out the middle section of the building, which basically is going to be a 16,000 square foot courtyard where people will be able to enter in from the parking and actually walk through this. Now, it may not be open to the public per se, that it would be a place like Legacy Place or one of these big shopping areas, but it is going to offer some amenities, but specifically for the employees that go to this building every day for work. I don't know that the space has already been agreed to, and it's under contract agreement. But the renovation of this place is absolutely phenomenal. It's going to be a fully glass facade with amenities. They've taken the basement space and turned it into a parking garage, which there's just a massive amount of space under there. I've been to the building a few times, and it's built like Fort Knox. Hence the reason why the builder saw that it was viable to basically take the skin of the building off and retrofit it with more modern finishes on the exterior. And it is going to be a LEED project, which basically means that it qualifies for all the green energy incentives and initiatives that the government offers for buildings that are energy efficient. This thing, when it starts to take shape, is really going to be a phenomenal building to watch be developed and to be occupied. It's quite a big project. It's fascinating, the amount of construction and the amount of resources that are going in over there. And just to keep in mind, I'm always asked, by a lot of people in and outside the city that, how do you guys get this all done? How do you oversee and supervise everything that's going on in your city? I mean, there's a phenomenal amount of work. At any given time, there are several different projects in and around the city that are just massive. To be clear, the building inspectors do not supervise construction. Construction control is an element in the building code that requires jobs of this size to be supervised by design professionals, registered architects, registered professional engineers, all of which people who go to college and study the science of building. They are the ones that specifically are the qualified individuals who are overseeing the construction. Our job as building officials is to make sure that the required documentation is in place, that we give a general overview of the job to make sure that the conditions of the plan have been met, and that if not, if there's a violation of any one of those codes, or there's a deviation or a variance from that, that we make sure that it complies with the building code. We require monthly reports from engineers and architects on these particular jobs to basically give us a sworn statement by signature and seal that they've been on these jobs and that the work is moving forward in compliance with the state building code and any other applicable regulations that may govern these types of jobs. So we don't necessarily supervise the work, but we make sure, in other words, we're not the coaches, we're the referees. We make sure that everything is fair game and that it follows the guidelines that are laid out in the building code. So we're not actually on site supervising at all times, but we do the inspections. We carry out the provisions of the state building code by inspection, enforcement, and documentation is how we do that. We're actually more kind of closer to the elements of construction on single-family projects and renovations. So that's what we do. The next thing we want to talk about are hotels. Waltham has the third largest hotel district in the state. My understanding is that I believe that we have 12 hotels right now. There are 2 under construction right now on 2nd Ave. One is at 135 2nd Avenue. That's a 6-story hotel, 135 rooms, and at 244 2nd Avenue. That's a bigger project. That is a dual branding hotel, whereas there's 2 different brands of hotels. You may have, and I'm not exactly sure what the names are, but for example, you may have a Courtyard by Marriott, which is which is a longer stay, like an extended stay kind of hotel where you might stay for a week. Those types of hotel rooms may have kitchens and bedrooms and living rooms. And then you have one on the other side that's more like a Holiday Inn, like you might just stay over one night. And then those 2 particular hotels will share all the related facilities downstairs, the pool, the exercise room, and any other amenities that a hotel might offer, including a restaurant. So this is a model that it's not new, but it may be new to the area. You don't see too much of this in Massachusetts. So this is one way to maximize space and to get the most efficiency out of some of the the amenities that hotels have to pay for and maintain. So it's a brilliant idea, and both of those projects are underway. 244 2nd Avenue still has a building up. They need to demolish 135 2nd Avenue. The steel erection has begun, and the project is underway. So there's quite a bit of construction down there on 2nd Avenue. Some of the projects over the past 2 years since I've been the inspector of buildings here are just absolutely phenomenal and absolutely beautiful in architecture and the way that the grounds are kept. One of them being Vistaprint World Headquarters over on Wyman Street, 275 2nd Ave. If you haven't driven by there, it's worth taking a trip up there if you happen to be wanting to take a walk or a bike ride or something, and you're up there. Just happen to notice the architecture of the building. It's absolutely phenomenal. The building up there, it was under construction when I came to work here in 2015, and it is just amazing how much square footage there is there. There's approximately 250,000 square feet of prime office space there, along with another 240,000 square feet of parking. Big project. The Vistaprint World Headquarters is Vistaprint's a very big company, and it's really an honor and a privilege to have companies like this set up camp right here in Waltham. It's great for the taxpayers, and it's great for the community. And again, 128 being the primary area to set up business is just it's just really good to see. Wolverine World Headquarters is at 500 Totten Pond Road. That was just completed recently. I believe we issued a certificate of occupancy for that sometime last year. I think it was midsummer of 2016. Wolverine occupies, I believe, 3 floors. There's a high-tech company on the very top floor. I think there's one other tenant on the other side. That would be Infinidat. And then on the very bottom, there were plans to have a factory outlet store there for Wolverine, but I believe that some things have changed there, so that's probably not going to happen. But you'll see that that there is a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse there that I believe is going to open up in another couple of weeks. Today being February 6th, would be in the next 30 days. So a lot happening over there. Clark Sherwood headquarters at 60 Tower Road. That's part of the Market Basket parcel over there. It is a separate address, and it does have a separate entrance coming in. But again, it's pretty much situated in that parcel there that that used to be the old Polaroid building. I watched that transpire since the time I got here in 2015. I saw that project all the way through with my inspectors. That there is quite a building. That building is very solidly constructed, and it was worth saving the frame. Here again, not requiring a special permit, because if you stay within the shell, the confines of what is existing as far as the structure goes, then there's no increase in FAR, so therefore a special permit's not required. There may have been a couple of variances on the project. I'm really not sure, but again, we have record of everything that's over at the building department, and you're certainly welcome to come anytime, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, to view the records on that. And upon request, we can retrieve those plans and records, and you're welcome to come and take a look at them at any time. Clark Shoe is a great tenant to have in the city, and we welcome these types of businesses. Thermo Fisher World Headquarters, their old world headquarters was on Wyman Street. Their brand new headquarters, you really can't help but to notice when you drive by on Route 128 North. You can see that Thermo Fisher World Headquarters is right there. That was dedicated sometime in October, or no, actually no, I think it was actually midsummer. Lieutenant Governor Polito came down, and there was a dedication for Thermo Fisher World Headquarters, and this employs great many people. I'm not sure what the existing building over on Wyman Street is going to be used for, but I know that they are going to keep it occupied, and they're going to keep operating it. And Thermo Fisher, I had asked what they do, and they actually make measuring equipment for these types of forensic sciences, such as crime labs and so forth. They measure, they do DNA labs and all sorts of kind of secret stuff that the building is secured, and it's not open to the public. You couldn't just walk in there. But they do some they build very sensitive instruments for those types of sciences. And so very fascinating business over there. And again, great tenant to have. So if you want any information on these particular projects, you can just go back and kind of look at any one of these. You should be able to find, if you Google these particular addresses, you should be able to find additional information on what these projects are, what the projected use of them is going to be, and what the future of these addresses will be. I would just say you're welcome anytime to come to the building department, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, to view any of these records. And that's it for the show. Thanks for watching.